Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Go.
Okay. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It is the notorious, glorious V, the Guerrilla Economist, and we have with us the man of the hour, the one and only John J. Singleton, and you're listening to us live on Privacy Fight. It is the place where all things privacy, all things protection, all things on how to navigate the world of surveillance. The police state is ratcheting up. Here's what you can do to stay off the radar. And with that being said, John, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, all right. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Lots of things going on in the world. I mean, it's another day. Hey, you know what? Here's a reason for privacy, John. Here's a reason for privacy. Have you seen the latest Twitter videos? Have you seen the videos that are coming out of Wuhan, China? Right?
No, tell me. Yeah, I
Okay,
don't know.
you got people over there that are quarantined.
Yeah.
That are quarantined from the virus and whatnot. And all of a sudden, you have people that don't want to be, taken into the emergency room because, let's be honest, because some people go into the emergency room and they don't ever come back or see the light of day ever again.
Right.
For reasons unknown. And the fact that the state has so much overreach and so much power, that they have the monopoly on force. Okay, they have the monopoly on force. And it's terrifying for somebody to see something like that. And you have to realize that we are just an election or two, or let's say that, 2 elections away and a crisis away from having something maybe not that extreme, but something in the realm of possibility to be that extreme. Because why? We have all the laws, all the rules, all the rudiments, and the infrastructure in place, because we too, just like China, are a security state. And John, one of the things that ever since you and I met several years ago is having a small radar footprint, man. And I think that is key. So you want to touch base on that? Let's talk about privacy. Let's talk about being small on the radar screen. Then we can touch some topics that are going on in the world, and we can take it from there. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, yeah, thanks. It concerned me back in the 90s. Nobody cared about privacy. In fact, almost nobody cares about privacy today because they think, I'm not doing anything wrong. So that's only that privacy is concerned with, is if you're breaking the law. And I just think of it like, if I'm working with someone that's got a high net worth and he has no clue about privacy, boy, someone could just stalk him, so to speak, find out if he's worth suing, and then just make up a case and then get some money out of him. There are people that do that. I'm not saying that's going to happen to everybody, but that's probably just an example case of why you'd want to have some level of privacy. Another one is, like you just said earlier, where a government agency can look at what you're doing and intimidate you into, I don't know, paying them money or agreeing to something with them. But if they don't know you have it, then there's never an issue. It won't even start.
Correct. Absolutely right, man. Without a doubt. And the whole entire thing also is that privacy is important because every single day you're giving away the most important thing that you have, and that's your own personal data. That's your ideas, your perceptions. The level of surveillance is to the point that Adolf Hitler would salivate. He would literally have, it would be a fantasy to have a population that's as gullible and as dumbed down as we are, where we literally, John, keep digital dossiers on ourselves through social media, and we have no idea where this data is going. They know what kind of foods we like. They know if your wife is pregnant. They know if you got a dog.
Right.
It's like, oh, look, so-and-so, V just downloaded the Chewy app. He must have a dog. Oh, so-and-so just bought some Depends. That means he's probably 65 and he can't control his bladder. They know so much personal things about you. It is terrifying. And they don't realize, people think that this data is innocuous, that it means nothing, that it's just harmless. What they don't realize is that these app companies, these data companies, are not existing on their own, but they have a back door to them, John. That's what find you find to be terrifying. It's that back door that's linked up to the security apparatus Borg, and they know everything about you, and they're able to create that digital dossier, which is something that the East German Stasi would have loved, Stalin would have loved, Hitler would have loved.
That's right. Do you think that when you give your name to a third party, a company, that that's all the data it's getting?
Yep.
It's not. You'd be
Exactly.
shocked to think that when you give out your name somewhere to a third party company, whether especially on the internet, you're probably giving at least 50 other pieces of data that you didn't authorize, that's being used or sold or it used as money to the company you're giving your name to. That, if anything, is reason for not allowing someone to have information that you don't want to give. Like, for example, if I'm going to do something on the internet, I'm going to use an alias.
Yep.
I'm going to use an alias.
Yep. Absolutely right. A lot of people don't understand. It's like, oh, people are so dumb to think that their smartphones are private. No, they go ahead and they download all these apps, and these apps are given all the data. People don't realize it's like it's ridiculous, man. And there are ways to shut that down. I guess in a later topic we could both get into the technological ways that we could
Yeah.
shut down apps from sharing data. I mean, there's programs out there for both Android and
Hmm.
iOS, and we'll say that for another broadcast.
Yeah.
That'll stop any sort of this this data sharing,
Data collection. That's really what it is.
man.
Yeah. For us, that data is not worth anything, but to the people getting your simple information, it's worth a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it creates risks
absolutely.
for people. I mean, then you've got a real situation where people can relate to this. If I go open an account at Coinbase and I buy some cryptos and I trade them, well then everybody can see it. Well, okay,
Yep.
fine. Who can really see it? I just said everybody can see it. No, not really. But let me explain. So your neighbor can't see it, right? But do you care? But if you're audited, the IRS can make Coinbase give up all those records to the
Hmm.
auditor.
Right.
And then what? It's ugly. It looks like what you see in the coin tracking software. So, so here's an example. Let's say you don't have, you're just now hearing about this and you have a Coinbase account. Here's what I'd suggest to you. It's a new year. Here's the new habit I would suggest that you adopt. When you buy, when you put dollars into your cryptos into Coinbase, for example, buy only stable coins. And I know that's not going to make you any money, right? So you buy True USD at Coinbase, then take that True USD and put it to your offline wallet like BitFi or Atomic Wallet, and then allocate to your coins and allocate off of the exchange. So that way the exchange just shows zero, dollar for dollar, dollar for coin, dollar, 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 zero, 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 zero. There's no change in price. So it's of no value to anyone, any third party who gets it, whether it's a court order or a subpoena or anything.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Very
That's a
simple.
brilliant idea.
Yeah.
John, it's here we are. We're in February. We're steamrolling into we're really hitting our stride here in 2020. And one of the things that people are starting to wake up to is the fact that they're getting notices in the mail from the IRS. We got taxes, man. It's tax season. Lots of things to talk about there, man. So let's tackle that elephant.
Yeah, what about the tax form, right? The new one, I guess they finally adopted it, where they ask if you bought cryptos.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Hmm.
Well,
Exactly.
okay. Here's my take on it. I think if you say yes, you're going to get audited, period. And when there's an
Right.
audit, not that that's the scariest thing, but you open up yourself to having your crypto account subpoenaed. Okay, maybe that's not a big deal either. I don't know. Maybe some people are scared of that. Um, I tell people to say no, no matter what. But more pragmatically, if you didn't get a 1099, say no. From your crypto exchange, say no. That's easier to do.
Right.
If you got a 1099, say yes, because they can see that you got a 1099 from a crypto exchange. Other than that, the IRS can't see what you did, what you got, unless you're already going to get audited for something and then they find it as just because your bank account is wiring money somewhere, right? They can probably get that information.
Yep.
Other than that, there's no tax report. So if you get a 1099 for like 2019 on a crypto exchange, I would say yes. If you don't, say no. For any other reasons, just say no. Avoid an audit, because what the IRS is doing is it's not about that. They're not, the coins themselves are not taxable. The trades between coins are not taxable. We already got confirmation of that from the IRS. That was pretty straightforward. But what they're trying to do is create a situation where, let's say you don't get a 1099 from Coinbase, but you say yes on your tax form. So then that causes an audit, if it does. And then the IRS then summonses all the crypto exchange data and does a coin tracking report and says you had all these trades between coins. You didn't get a 1099, but because you had these trades, we think your gain is X. And then we're going to send you a notice of deficiency. And now that sends you in a tax court. And if you don't understand how that works, the legal application, then you're just going to be end up paying lots of money in taxes, and your CPA is not going to help you. He's not going to know
Right.
how to write a letter to the IRS and get the IRS to say, okay, well, that wasn't taxable. He's not going to understand about coin to coin and this sort of thing. So you want to avoid that situation altogether.
Yep, absolutely. And the funny thing is, and we'll get into this in another topic as well. Tax courts are not even real courts, folks.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not a real court.
They call the court just like the FISA court. A court
Yeah,
that's secret is not a court, by the way.
exactly.
You can't call the court. It's, if it's secret. But tax court is only to determine liability. It's not about it's not about whether or not you owe. There's no question about your liability. It's a question of
Yeah.
how much liability. So if you find yourself in tax court, you already lost. It's just it's a numbers game from there. But I think if you stick with the idea that, use a third party, use an LLC, use a pass-through to manage your account, just like you would any other asset.
Yes.
Why would you put yourself on the radar and put it in your name when you don't have to?
Exactly right, man. Exactly right. And this is the whole entire thing that I try to educate my clientele about as well. Is like, look, you don't want to be in your 30s and 40s and still utilizing your credit. You have to start educating yourself. You need to understand on how the system works. You need to understand the real money game. When I say the word money game, John, most people think, oh, it's Wall Street and banking. No, 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 no. What I'm talking about is how to operate, how to,
Yeah.
again, like I give this example so many times. You got to be like Rockefeller, have nothing on paper, but control everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and he was shocked. He said, "Say that again." When I told him this, I said, "It's far more difficult to not pay taxes on $5,000 you took out of the exchange, the crypto exchange, 5,000 US dollars, than to not pay taxes on $10 million you took out of the same account." And he goes, "What?
Yeah.
Say that again." I said, "You can easily not pay taxes on $10 million, but when it comes to 5,000, it's more difficult because you can't justify a $5,000 structure, rollover or something, but you can easily justify a $10 million one. So there's many ways to take the $10 million out and not pay taxes and defer it somewhere else forever. But on the 5,000, you pretty much can't explain that. It's just going to be income."
Yep, exactly. So, John, let me ask you this: what are some of the things that you recommend for clients to do when they want to start this process of being private, of entering the privacy fight, understanding that, hey, you know what, that they're tired. And you should be, folks. You should be tired of being the merchandise. You should be tired of being the product that is bought and sold behind your back multiple times, and you have no benefit towards it whatsoever. John, what are the first things that they can do, man?
Number one is use a VPN.
Hmm.
Use one that you pay for. Don't get a free one, because the free ones, what do you think? I mean, we're talking about surveillance, right? So apps you get on your phone are free, but they're not free because they're collecting your data. So likewise, don't get a VPN that's free. Get one you have to pay a few bucks a month for. They'll want you to pay ahead of time for a year or so, which is probably a good deal. So get a good VPN. And then when you do your trades, like I was just suggesting, when you go on the exchanges, use it for what it was intended, the convenience of moving dollars from your bank account to the exchange. And I'm not even talking about an LLC account or a trust account, nothing like that. I'm just saying, when you move money from your, let's say, personal account into Coinbase, only buy a stable coin. Then immediately when the funds clear, move that stable coin into a stable coin on another wallet, like a Ledger X or a BitFi or Atomic wallet. And if it's Atomic wallet, use a separate computer that's on a VPN that you only access like maybe once a week to reallocate your coins. Unless you're trading. I mean, I can't stop you there. If you're trading, you got to be online, but keep your dedicated computer with Atomic wallet in a vault somewhere, or your BitFi. You can do it that way when you're allocating. Do not allocate on the exchange. When you go to take profits, you can then move the money back into your stable coin and then back into the stable coin on your exchange and then sell for dollars and take them out of your account. The thing I would caution you though is if you're going to do it that way, you know, the system will show a million, let's say $1,000 in and $1 million out.
Yeah.
So for that, to that end, you want to use an LLC if you're going to take cash out that way, right? If you're going to just take cash out of your LLC account, then at least use an LLC to do that. Don't do it personally. The other side is if you're going to take $10 million out, let's say all of a sudden your Bitcoin makes $10 million and you want to sell your Bitcoin, what I would suggest is there's a couple ways to do that. You can liquidate your Bitcoin through escrow to get into real estate. That's one very simple example. There's not every escrow agent does this. The other way to do it is to sell for dollars or use your crypto coin to get into, there's an insurance policy you can buy into. You can fund an insurance policy and then you can borrow the money out tax free. And then you can get into anything you want. You can buy assets or buy toys. It doesn't matter. So there's just a couple of tools out there that you can use.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, I was gonna save this for a future broadcast, but you know what? I'm gonna say something real quick for people that really want to, especially stop the data collecting that's happening on your smartphone. Now, if you have an Android device, right? If you have an Android device, there's an app you can load that's basically an application firewall. It's called NetGuard. Get it. You download it. Now you can manage, like for instance, like you download that calculator app. You're like, oh, look, it's a brand new calculator app. Well, why is it data sharing?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh,
Right.
I downloaded this new shopping app. Why is it data sharing? Why is it, giving out your location? And it's a calculator app. It makes no freaking sense.
Right.
Well, application firewalls like NetGuard will allow you to individually cater what a particular app has access to, what you can deny what they have access to. You can, you control that. Okay. Now, if you got an iPhone, there's an app called Lockdown. Okay, and you can get that on the Apple iStore as well. And it's the same thing as NetGuard, where you decide what app is sharing what. That's one of the ways to do it. And the other thing is if you have an Android device or an iOS device, is you want to disable or you want to encrypt that DNS, and that really goes into cutting away at your at what they have access to, what other data they can mine out of your phone as well. Which on that part I'll get into on a later date, and get into some of the nitty gritty. So John, what else is on your radar right now, especially that we touch base on taxes, we touch base on data. What are some of the things that you're on the lookout for that people could do or people should be aware of?
But it's got to be privacy. I mean, and if you don't understand how to treat the asset, it goes back to the tax issue. That is just going to develop because right now there's no laws and no new rules on crypto assets because they're defined as property. So going forward, I think what the system is trying to do is get people to behave in a certain way. That is, report income on coin trades when it's not reportable. And when people are doing that and their accountants are telling them to do that and everybody's used to doing that, then the system's going to adopt a set of rules that says, okay, you have to do that from now on. Because right now there isn't one. Because if a thing is not, if you can't pay a tax in the thing being taxed, then it's not taxable. Because Bitcoin, if you look at it that way, Bitcoin is not taxable because you can't pay the tax in Bitcoin. You have to pay it in dollars. And no one requires you, there's no requirement to go out and get some dollars to pay for a gain you just supposedly had in Bitcoin. So here's how this looks. If I bought $1,000 in Bitcoin and now it's worth $1 million, and let's say I agree, and let's say there's a law that says, okay, you just made, so much money in Bitcoin, pay your tax. And I say, well, I don't have any dollars to pay the tax. Can I pay it in Bitcoin? No, you can't. Well, then where do I get the dollars from? Well, they'll tell you, go out and get the dollars. Well, I don't want to. Well, then how can I pay the tax? See, it's not taxable. The dollars are taxable. If I sell the Bitcoin in dollars, okay, now I got to pay the tax because I now
Right.
have the money. I have the gain. But that's going forward. It's just going to be more of the same. That's the game. And I also believe that this whole system, this crypto system, Bitcoin and all this stuff, I think it's a banker's bailout. And yeah, we can benefit from it. Privacy can save you, but if you don't understand it, you're going to be run over by this system. So this is like no other time. It's just like discovering fire. Okay. I can use fire to kill people, but I can cook my dinner and protect myself, and I can build stuff with it.
Mhm.
So if you're not on this stuff, you're not understanding privacy, you're not understanding when you have a tax liability, you're just going to get run over by it. It's going to be very costly.
Absolutely right. One of the things that people have a big challenge facing, John, and I faced it with clientele, and I know you faced it with your clientele as well, is trying to teach them not to operate in fear,
Yeah.
because they get man, I remember
Yeah.
working with clients when they first get to you. Here comes a collections letter. They're terrified. Oh my God. Here comes a collections phone call, and they're spilling their guts over the phone to the collector, thinking that the collector will have any sort of mercy on them. Let's talk about the fear, that the unfounded fear that people have with the system when it comes to debt, when it comes to exposure, when it comes to dealing with some of the financial issues and privacy, man. Let's
All
get
right.
into
I
that.
love that one. That's perfect, V.
Me
That
too, man.
okay. Yeah, yesterday I'm talking to a guy, and this is something you know him. We've been working together for a couple of years now, this guy, okay?
Hmm.
So he finally gets sued. Now, people are terrified of getting sued. They're terrified of getting a collection letter. This guy is getting sued. So now he calls me up, and like I always do, he's got a hearing. In fact, it's in 28 minutes, by the way. So
Hmm.
I talked to him last night, and at the at the beginning of the call, it was like you and I are talking. At the end of the call, we were in hysterics. He said, "I can't wait to go to the hearing." This was a hearing where he's being sued by a bank, and we filed a response to the bank's complaint in July. In
Hmm.
July, we shut the case down until now, 8 months later.
Wow. Wow.
And so he's finally going to the hearing, and he's laughing, and he's saying, "I can't believe I can tell the attorney that, and I can say that to the judge." And I said, "If you say that, chances are the judge is going to tell the attorney to rewrite the complaint and start over." And he just couldn't wait. So he says, "I got tell me what, I can't wait to, you tell me what happens." So he's going to call me later today and tell me the story. But so that's the kind of thing. You're right, V. You don't want to be afraid. It's just like with the IRS. You don't be afraid. Just be pragmatic. Do things the right way.
Right.
But there's
Absolutely.
no need to be afraid of these people. They're just out to steal your money. So it's just like back in the 90s when I figured, well, gosh, if my client doesn't have the thing, well, what does he need me for in the first place? Well, maybe to get rid of his stuff, right? So I reorganized his stuff, all his property rights, and now we don't have to talk to the IRS. We don't have to talk to the people in court. In fact, the only reason I'm having him go to the hearing, he's already in a situation where they can't levy anything. They couldn't garnish anything from him. And and I asked him, I said, why do you think we should go to the hearing? He goes, well, I just want to go there and look him in the eye, and I don't want to be afraid of these people anymore, and I'm not going to be afraid, and it's going to be interesting. And I said, okay, cool, because that's why you should go. And then after that, the case will probably continue, and I said, you won't have to participate after that.
Nice.
Yeah. So you're right. That just don't be afraid. It's a piece of paper. Today they're not going to come to your house and bust your kneecaps, right? There's no debtor's prison. You're not going to go to jail for not paying the bank.
No,
They're just going to send you. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Look,
just
the
paper
worst
and
thing that's going to
credit.
happen is this. Let's just say, even if you don't show up, right? The worst thing that's going to happen
Yeah.
is they're going to get an automatic judgment against you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
And what is that? It's a piece of paper.
That's right.
And what is that? That's something that that we can remove from a credit file
Uh-huh.
instantaneously, in under 15 days or less.
Yeah. Lots of times you can take it off the file. I've got some cases where they're so bad, the file is so bad, and the client's in a situation where he just he can't wait 2 years, because sometimes it takes a long time, a couple of years to get things whittled down. We could fix his credit like right away with getting the debt collectors off there or some erroneous things, but it's really dragging him down. So I can actually set up a whole new file, and I've been doing this since the 90s. We just set up a whole new clean file, and he
There you go.
starts over. So he's got
Right.
low credit, but in about 6 months, his score is going to be way better than his old file.
Oh,
And I,
absolutely.
and I don't
And
like
John,
tell
we can
everybody
take
this,
that a
but
step. We can take that a step further. You get a new file open up for a client. Guess what? We can mature that
yeah,
instantaneously.
yeah, you
We
could.
can add
Yep,
trade lines and authorize users directly to that file. Now all of a sudden, a file that's been
yep,
sitting around there, it's brand new, it's been dinged,
that's
but
right.
now we can build it up. Now he has a couple of trade lines for a couple $1,000, and
Hmm.
now it's like, oh my God, you have A plus credit again. And this is how the wealthy play.
That's it. That's
This
what
is
they
how they
do.
play.
That's
And
what they
this
do.
is what people need to understand. It's like, look, you know, I can pull up the credit files on some of the most wealthy people in America, okay? And their credit is trashed. They don't care about it.
That's right. They're not
because they
using their
don't
credit.
utilize that,
Yeah, that's
right?
right. Yeah, I mean, you could take, let's say you took a new file, and you got 100 grand in unsecured loan money. And so this person that you did this for, he's just a regular consumer, has a job and all this, and now he's got 100 grand. He's never had 100 grand before. And so now what? He's got payments on it because you still want to make your payments. What you want to do is figure out how to take a portion of that 100 grand, let's say 5 grand, not even 5 grand, take 5 grand, buy an asset or something that produces cash flow with $5,000 that generates like 2,000 a month. And those are like at your fingertips. I can show you how to do that. It's so easy. And then take that money from that thing you just got. It takes like 30 days to set this up. And then take that cash flow and make your payments with it. And then keep your $100,000. And this asset over here is still paying your payments, and it's not
Yep,
coming from your job. It's not new debt for you. And then
exactly,
you could just use it now. You're starting to do what the rich people are doing.
exactly. You're accumulating assets.
Hmm.
That's what the wealthy do, and the poor and the middle class accumulate liabilities.
That's right. Yeah.
Very well said. John, we're coming to the end of the broadcast, and there's a lot to discuss, especially on future broadcasts. I think John and I will get into the nitty gritty about how credit really works, how loans and lending really works, how, what to do in certain scenarios with banking, what to do in certain scenarios with loans, what happens if you get, a collections letter, what happens if they try to drag you into court. We can get into the nooks and crannies of that, folks. Between John and myself, we have years of experience in dealing with this crap. John is the legal eagle, and I am the banking maven, and we can, really help out a lot of people here. So stay tuned and stay locked and loaded to Privacy Fight. And John, how can people follow you and your work, and how can people get a hold of your services? I know you guys have on PrivacyFight.com some things. What can they do, man? Go ahead.
Well, today we've got a webinar we're doing at 3 o'clock Eastern time, which is at PrivacyFightClub.com. You can just register that way and just follow it. That connects into everything, PrivacyFightClub.com.
Nice. Perfect. With that being said, we're at the end of the broadcast. Thank you all for listening in. This is V, the Guerrilla Economist, and my main man, John J. Singleton. We're over and out.